Good morning, I'm Wendy Whaples Scully, and I am also a member of the worship team. Christmas is pushed on us by retailers around the time that we turn the porch light off on trick-or-treaters. It starts with music, it starts with commercials that tell us we need to buy each other new cars, or iPads, or phones, and then there's the music that starts around Thanksgiving. And it's piped into the stores, it's piped into the streets, we hear it on the radio until it becomes almost like a holiday hum. So I thought to weave these memories that you folks had shared with me, I would remind you of some of the lyrics in some of those songs. Because sometimes we just don't hear them anymore. They just become the same thing over and over. But first, let's hear from Dr. Seuss. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled and puzzled till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. What if Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store? What if Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more? This is from Cindy. One rainy day in November, my mom decided to give us something to do. We would make paper chains for the tree. My brothers, sisters, and I went to work using paste. You know, the kind that you make with flour and water. Yeah, that was back in the days before Elmer's glue. We carefully put all the chains in a box in our parents' closet. 4 weeks later, we excitedly brought out the box. What a shock. It was full of very large pieces of construction paper confetti. They were all chewed up. Apparently, the mice were hungry. This song was made popular from the movie The Grinch, and it is a plaintive ditty. Where are you, Christmas? And then it ends very positively with, if there is love in your heart and your mind, you will feel like Christmas all the time. Oh, I feel you, Christmas. I know I've found you. You never fade away. Oh, the joy of Christmas stays here inside us, fills every and each heart with love. This is Ellen's share. My childhood home in suburban New York was the source of some of my finest Christmas memories. Built in 1924, this New England colonial was an awesome Christmas house and had not only one larger-than-life fireplace in the living room, but also a smaller one upstairs in the master bedroom. One of our family's most cherished Christmas traditions was to hang our stockings from that upstairs mantel. And on Christmas morning, my dad would lay a fire in the fireplace, before which we would open our stockings and eat the petit déjeuner that my mother would have brought up from downstairs. That's French for breakfast. Eventually, we would work our way down to the Christmas tree, but for me, this intimate family time with my brother and parents in front of a crackling slipper fire would have the most lasting effect on my treasured Christmas memories. This ballad, The Christmas Shoes, was made into, of course, a Hallmark movie. And it reminds us that it's not about how many gifts you get, but the gift that you give, that you cherish and treasure for what you have. This from Karen. My favorite memories of Christmas as a young child includes the excitement of going to bed on Christmas Eve and trying to stay awake to hear Santa come into the house and bring our gifts. We never could stay awake, falling asleep as soon as we hit our pillows. We never had a lot growing up, but we had everything that we needed. Our gifts included nightgowns and pajamas. My sister and I would get the same nightgown, but different colors because we liked it that way. We would get a game that we could play as a family, and we would spend hours trying to beat each other. Sometimes a doll with a couple of outfits, or a baseball glove for our brother. Our stockings would have a small toy and maybe a candy bar, but the rest of the items were things we really needed, like Band-Aids and pencils and Scotch tape. We didn't care, because we had the love of our family, which was what the season was all about. As we got older and the church became more of an influence on us, we would set up our own Advent wreath on the dining table and light the candle and read scriptures and say a prayer. Now, as an adult, Christmas Eve is more important to me, and I treasure the scriptures that we read, the hymns we sing, and all the flowers and candles that decorate our church. It is a magical time for me. Bing Crosby made Christmas songs very popular. I don't really remember this one, but as I was looking for songs to choose, I came up with this one, How Lovely is Christmas. How lovely is Christmas with boughs in the hall when bells ringle jingle and friends come to call. How lovely is Christmas with joy on the wing while under your window the carolers sing. God rest ye, be merry, give peace while you may. Remember the child who was born on this day. How lovely is Christmas with songs in the air, a bright Merry Christmas, dear friends everywhere. Susan shares. When I was 11 and 12 years old, we lived in Worcester, Massachusetts. Our neighborhood was largely Jewish. In fact, 25 of the 35 kids in my class celebrated Hanukkah. At one point, I remember wishing I was Jewish because they got not only the Jewish holidays off as well as the Christian ones. What a great life. Until junior high, when I saw all of them boarding a bus after school to go to Hebrew school, and then I was very glad I was a Christian. The year I was 11, our Christmas morning breakfast was done, presents had been opened, and were now neatly displayed on our beds for the relatives coming for Christmas dinner to view. Dad started a fire in the fireplace, and then noticed a funny rumbling sound. Betty, I think there's a fire in the chimney. You better call the fire department. Mom calmly went to the phone, dialed the fire department, and said, this is not an emergency, but we may have a small fire in our chimney. Our house sat at the top of Lenox Street Hill. No one down the street could actually see our house. Within minutes, there were 3 regular fire trucks, a hook and ladder, an ambulance, the fire chief's car, and the police car lining the street. They quickly found a wad of paper that had caught partway up the chimney, pulled it down into the firebox, and all was well. Except to the neighbors at the foot of the hill, who didn't know what was going on, they thought a disaster was taking place. Family after family sent someone up to ask us to join them for dinner or to use their home as a place of refuge. The spirit of Christmas and Hanukkah were alive and well that day. We were all children of God looking out for one another, something really important to me at 11 years old to understand and carry with me through life. This is a song I found that I'm not sure is really a Christmas song, but I felt that it was appropriate for the next piece that I'm going to read, which came in anonymously. It's a song by Alabama. Oh, I believe there are angels among us, sent down to us from somewhere up above. They come to you and me in our darkest hours to show us how to live, to teach us how to give, to guide us with a light of love. They wear so many faces, show up in the strangest places, and grace us with their mercies in time of need. I'm worried about my kids, my coworker Jane said. I can't afford Christmas presents for them, and it's their first Christmas without their father since the divorce. Word spread throughout the small company. We all liked Jane. Molly, one of the bosses, and not the most caring boss under normal circumstances, took up a collection. And even though we lived in an economically depressed rural New England area, and even though bus drivers don't earn a lot of money, everybody gave. Even the company grouch gave, saying, "Christmas is for kids." My coworkers reminisced about their Christmases growing up. "I was 12 when my parents couldn't afford presents," said one. "And then in January, when I went back to school, I watched all the other kids showing off their presents." Someone called out, "I was 14. Another, "I was 11. "I was 7, said the company grouch. For the first time, I started understanding why she was such a grouch. Having grown up middle class, I never knew the pain and unfairness of poverty. Gary offered to go to the woods and chop down a Christmas tree. "Oh, Pete's already done that," he was told. The mechanic bought Jane a huge box full of Christmas food, and another coworker bought wrapping paper. Being the only childless employees in the company, John and I volunteered to buy, wrap, and deliver the presents. Imagine the hilarity of two childless people trying to figure out what presents to give to a 2-year-old. Fortunately, the store employee came to our rescue, suggesting stuffed animals. The disabled 11-year-old wanted toy trucks, so we bought those. He still believed in Santa. We got a nice sweater for Jane. And since John, my husband, was all thumbs with gift wrapping, I neatly wrapped the presents, labeling each one with a lot of love. "For a special boy Santa loves very much," said one label. Then John got into his Santa Claus outfit he wore every year, and lacking reindeer and sleigh, we got into my battered, dented, rusty, trusty old car. And we drove over to Jane's house after dark, stopping a few houses away. Santa got out, hoisted the bag of presents over his shoulders, and started, "Ho, ho, ho." The kids were waiting for Santa when Jane opened the door. When Santa sat down, the 2-year-old, not shy at all, ran over to him and happily climbed into his lap, babbling away. Mom was crying so hard with joy she could barely snap photos. And the little boy? Well, he ran away and was hiding in the bedroom. Not for nothing was Santa an experienced school bus driver. He went over to the bedroom door and talked to Junior. You see, Junior thought it was his fault his parents had divorced, that he must be a bad boy, and he didn't deserve any presents from Santa. Santa talked to him, reassuring him, helping him realize that though we all make mistakes, that doesn't mean we're bad. We are all worthy of love. I always liked this song, and I'm thinking of Alyssa. Barbra Streisand's The Gift. The best gift that I ever got didn't really weigh a lot, didn't have a ribbon round, and sometimes made a terrible sound. The best of all, it seems to me, it wasn't 'neath the Christmas tree. And yet, I guess I'd have to say that it made all the presents twice as gay. The best gift that I've ever known, I've always wanted most to own. Yet in my dreams of sugar and spice, I never thought it could be so nice. The best gift that I'd ever get was sometimes dry, sometimes wet, was usually pink, but oftentimes red, and it lay so innocently in its bed. The best gift of the year to me, the one I hold most dear to me, a gift that simply drove me wild, was a tiny newborn child. Lucy shares this. Lucy Gray Stinson was a force of nature. When her second husband died suddenly in the early 1940s, she supported her 2 teens and his 3, working in a ladies' dress shop and later orchestrating summer European tours for groups of college girls. She had also invested her formidable energy in her church, in the League of Women Voters, and supported campaigns of countless Democratic candidates. And on her 63rd birthday, she was, of course, on the Mall in Washington, D.C. for Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. Green eyes, red hair, colorful dresses, and large costume jewelry, and a distinctive voice. These were her calling cards. Michael and I traveled overnight by train from Vermont with our 4-month-old daughter to her home in Radnor, Pennsylvania, just outside Philadelphia, arriving on a steamy late August day in 1982 for her 82nd birthday. We called a taxi for the short ride from her local train station to Boppy's front door on Glenmary Road and rang the bell. After a few rings and a lengthy wait, she answered the door with her characteristic big voice greeting, cheerfully scolding us for arriving early and interrupting her, "Didn't you know sleep is sacred?" nap. In December of that year, she sent a rather ordinary cloth Santa and a sweet Christmas dress for Julie to wear during the festivities of Christmas. I called to thank her and said that the toy Santa would be stored with our Christmas decorations, and I knew I would think of her in the years ahead when I unpacked it. And I do. I also remember her response. "That is how you're going to remember me." I don't always get it right, do we? Picking the right gift or finding the right words to express our appreciation. So for the record, I remember Boppy, my grandmother, often throughout the year because of her vital example to me of the value of living a full and resilient life